Good evening, everyone. There's a kind of quiet power in walking alone, not in loneliness, not in isolation, but in choosing your own path when the crowd is going another way. And let's be honest, it's terrifying. Walking alone means risking judgment, misunderstanding, and sometimes outright rejection. But it also means something else: freedom, courage, and authenticity. Today, I want to talk about what it means to be one of those who walk alone, not because they have to, but because they refuse to betray who they are. Before we dive in, I want to ask you for a small but meaningful favor. If this message resonates with you, if it sparks something in your heart, challenges you, or even just makes you pause for a moment, I'd love for you to hit that like button. And if you're here because you believe in growth, courage, and showing up as your truest self, go ahead and subscribe so we can keep walking this journey together. And one more thing, if there's someone in your life who needs to hear this today, someone who's standing at a crossroads, doubting themselves or feeling a little lost, send this their way. Because when we share these conversations, we remind each other that we're not alone. Let's do this together. We all crave belonging. It's as essential to us as air and water. From the moment we're born, we search for connection to family, to friends, to communities, to something bigger than ourselves. But here's the hard truth. If you have to change who you are to fit in, you don't truly belong. You're just being tolerated. And there's a vast difference between being accepted for who you are and being allowed to stay as long as you pretend to be someone else. How many times have you laughed at a joke you didn't find funny just to avoid being the odd one out? How often have you silenced an opinion, dimmed your personality, or ignored your instincts because you feared it would make others uncomfortable? We all do it at some point. It's human. The problem is when it becomes a pattern, when we become so afraid of rejection that we trade our authenticity for approval. The price of belonging should never be your authenticity. If you find yourself constantly editing your thoughts before you speak, if you feel drained rather than energized after spending time with certain people, if you feel a quiet sadness creeping in when you realize you aren't showing up as your real self, that's not belonging. That's self-abandonment. And self-abandonment is a slow and painful way to disappear. I know it's scary. I know the idea of standing alone can feel overwhelming, but here's the paradox. The more you try to fit in, the lonelier you will feel. True connection isn't found in pleasing everyone. It's found in being real and letting the right people find you. The ones who truly matter will never ask you to be less than you are. So ask yourself, what's more important? Being accepted for a version of you that isn't real, or being loved for exactly who you are, even if it means walking away from certain people or places. Because the truth is, if you have to betray yourself to belong, you don't belong at all. Choosing authenticity over approval is not easy. It may mean losing relationships, walking away from certain groups, or facing periods of loneliness. But what you gain is so much greater. You gain self-respect, you gain freedom, you gain the peace of knowing that the people who remain in your life see you, not a version of you that has been adjusted for their comfort, but the real, raw, beautiful, imperfect you. And that is a belonging worth fighting for. There's a profound difference between being alone and being lonely, yet we often confuse the two. Solitude is a choice, a deliberate act of stepping away to reconnect with yourself, to listen to your own thoughts, to find clarity. Isolation, on the other hand, is disconnection. It's when we shut ourselves off from the world out of fear, shame, or pain. One is empowering, the other is destructive. In a world that constantly demands our attention, solitude is a rare gift. We're bombarded with noise, social media, endless notifications, opinions from people who don't even know us, expectations we never agreed to carry. We're told that being busy is a sign of importance, that being constantly surrounded by others means we're valued. But here's the truth. If you never step away, if you never take the time to be alone with yourself, you risk losing the most important connection you'll ever have. The one with your own heart, your own values, your own voice. Solitude allows you to hear yourself think. It gives you the space to ask, who am I when no one else is watching? What do I actually believe? What do I truly want? These are the questions that shape our lives, yet we rarely slow down long enough to answer them. And when we don't, we risk living a life shaped by other people's expectations instead of our own truth. But solitude is not always comfortable. When you sit in silence, the things you've been avoiding tend to rise to the surface. Old wounds, self-doubt, fear of not being enough. That's why so many people avoid it. It's easier to drown ourselves in distractions than to face what's actually going on inside of us. But here's the thing. Growth happens in the quiet. Healing happens in the stillness. And if you're willing to sit with yourself, even in discomfort, you'll find that you are stronger than your fears. Now, isolation is different. Isolation is when we retreat, not because we're seeking clarity, but because we're afraid. We isolate when we believe no one understands us, when we're convinced that our struggles make us unworthy of love or connection. We isolate when we let shame tell us that we are better off alone. And the more we pull away, the harder it becomes to reach out again. That's why solitude must be intentional. Walking alone doesn't mean cutting yourself off from love, from support, from community. It means making space for yourself while still allowing others in when it matters. It means knowing that while your journey is uniquely yours, you don't have to travel it without companionship. The right people will respect your need for solitude while standing by you when you need them. So don't be afraid to step away. Take time to be with yourself, to understand yourself, to build a foundation of self-trust so strong that no external noise can shake it. But don't let solitude turn into isolation. You are meant to be deeply connected to yourself, yes, but also to those who truly see and support you. Most people take the familiar path, the one paved with certainty, approval, and predictability. It's comfortable, it's safe, it's lined with signposts that tell you exactly what to do next. Go to school, get a stable job, follow the crowd, don't rock the boat. And for many, that's enough. But for those who dream bigger, for those who want something more, for those who feel a pull towards something greater, there is another path, a harder one, a lonelier one. The road less traveled isn't glamorous. It's not smooth or well lit. In fact, at times, it's barely even a road. It's rocky, uncertain, and full of obstacles that will make you question if you're even headed in the right direction. Sometimes you'll find yourself walking in complete darkness, guided only by the faint whisper of your own intuition. You'll look around and realize that no one else is there, not because you're lost, but because most people never had the courage to take that first step. When you choose the road less traveled, you choose a life of uncertainty. You don't get a map, and you certainly don't get guarantees. You will fail, you will fall, you will have days where you wonder if you made the wrong choice, if you should turn around and join the others on the well-worn path. And yet, if you keep going, if you trust yourself enough to walk forward despite the fear, you will find something most people never do: greatness. Every person who has ever done something extraordinary has walked this road. The inventors, the artists, the pioneers, the leaders, the ones who defy the norms, who dare to challenge the way things had always been done. Steve Jobs, who dropped out of college and spent years working out of a garage before creating a company that changed the world. Maya Angelou, who refused to let a painful past define her and instead became one of the most powerful voices in literature, Elon Musk, whose ideas were so radical that people laughed at him, and yet he kept building, kept innovating, kept pushing forward until he transformed industries. Oprah Winfrey, who grew up in poverty, faced rejection, and still built a media empire that gave a voice to millions. None of them followed the crowd. None of them took the easy way. They walked alone through doubt, through rejection, through the kind of failure that would have broken most people. And yet they kept walking. The thing about the road less traveled is that it requires a different kind of strength, not the kind that lifts weights or runs marathons, but the kind that withstands doubt, criticism, and the temptation to quit. It requires resilience. It requires an almost unreasonable level of self-belief, because when you're on this path, people won't always understand you. They'll question your choices, your dreams, your ability. They'll tell you to be realistic, to play it safe, to stop chasing something that may never happen. And that's when you have to decide, are you willing to keep walking even when no one else believes in you? Greatness isn't found in the comfort of the familiar. It isn't found in following the crowd. It's found in the risks you take, in the times you choose courage over convenience, in the moments you refuse to give up, even when everything in you wants to. The road less traveled is lonely, yes, but it's also where you will find the truest version of yourself. It's where you will build something that matters. And when you reach the other side, when you look back and see how far you've come, you'll realize that every challenge, every moment of doubt, every time you wanted to quit but didn't, it was all worth it. Because this road, the one that so few are brave enough to take, is the only road that leads to true greatness. Fear is not something you outgrow. It doesn't disappear when you become successful, when you gain experience, or when you finally achieve the things you once dreamed of. Fear walks beside all of us, whispering doubts, feeding insecurities, and trying to convince us that turning back is safer than moving forward. The difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to keep walking anyway. We tend to believe that brave people are fearless, but that's a myth. Courage isn't about eliminating fear, it's about acting despite it. The writer who pours their soul onto the page, unsure if anyone will read it. The entrepreneur who risks everything on an idea, not knowing if it will work. The person who leaves a toxic relationship, steps onto a stage, starts a new career, speaks up when it would be easier to stay silent. None of them do these things because they're fearless. They do them because they refuse to let fear make their decisions for them. Fear has one job: to keep you safe. It wants to protect you from failure, embarrassment, rejection, pain. And in some cases, that's a good thing. Fear can stop us from making reckless choices or walking into danger. But more often than not, fear isn't warning you of real danger. It's just trying to keep you in your comfort zone. And the comfort zone is where dreams go to die. Think about the moments in your life when fear held you back. The opportunity you didn't take because you weren't sure you were ready. The conversation you avoided because you feared conflict. The creative project you never started because you were afraid of what people would think. Now ask yourself, was the fear real, or was it just a story I told myself? Most of the time, fear is just a story, a worst-case scenario that plays on repeat in our minds. What if I fail? What if they laugh at me? What if I'm not good enough? But here's something to consider. What if you succeed? What if people love what you have to offer? What if you are more than enough? The truth is, you will never feel fully ready. You will never have all the answers. There will never be a perfect moment where fear disappears and confidence takes its place. If you wait until you feel fearless, you will wait forever. The only way to build courage is to act while you're afraid, to take the step, say yes, risk failure, put yourself out there, and trust that you'll figure it out as you go. And yes, you will fail sometimes, you will make mistakes, you will fall flat on your face, but failure is not the enemy. Stagnation is, regret is. Looking back on your life and realizing you let fear decide for you is, so if fear is going to walk beside you, and it will, then let it come along for the ride, but don't let it take the wheel. Don't let it dictate your choices. Let it whisper, let it shout, let it try to convince you to stay small, and then take a deep breath, straighten your shoulders, and walk forward anyway. Because fear may always be with you, but so is courage. And in the end, the life you want will not be found in safety. It will be found in the moments you felt afraid, but chose to move forward anyway. We spend so much of our lives trying to find our place, searching for the people who will truly see us, accept us, love us for exactly who we are. We crave connection. It's built into our DNA. But in that search, many of us make a mistake. We try to fit into spaces that were never meant for us. We shrink ourselves, mold our personalities, silence our truths, all in an effort to belong. And for a while it might work. You might find acceptance, you might feel included, but deep down there's a nagging emptiness, a quiet voice whispering, this isn't really me. True belonging isn't about forcing yourself into spaces where you don't truly fit. It's about walking your own path, even if it means walking alone for a while and trusting that the right people will find you along the way. Your tribe, the people who truly align with your heart, your values, your soul, can't recognize you if you're wearing a mask. They can't love the real you if you're too busy being someone else. But here's the hard part. Choosing your true path often means choosing solitude first. It means stepping away from friendships, relationships, or communities that don't honor your authenticity. It means risking judgment, rejection, and loneliness. It means standing firm when people don't understand you, when they question your choices, when they try to pull you back into the version of yourself that made them comfortable. And that's terrifying, because what if you walk away and never find the people who truly see you? What if you take the risk and end up alone? These are the fears that keep so many people trapped in spaces that don't nourish them. The fear of walking alone is powerful. But what if the price of avoiding that fear is never finding where you truly belong? The truth is, your tribe is out there. The people who will celebrate your weirdness, your depth, your quirks, your dreams. The people who won't ask you to be less so they can feel more comfortable. The ones who will see you in all your rawness and vulnerability and say, yes, you belong here. But they can only find you if you're willing to be seen for who you really are. So how do you find them? You stop looking for approval in the wrong places. You stop forcing yourself into conversations, groups, relationships that drain you instead of filling you. You stop apologizing for your dreams, your passions, your truths. You start walking toward the things that set your soul on fire, even if no one else is walking with you. Yet, and that's the magic of it. When you walk your true path, when you show up as your most authentic self, you naturally attract the right people, the ones who speak your language, the ones who feel like home, the ones who have also been searching, hoping, waiting for someone like you to appear. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it requires courage. Yes, it means enduring seasons of loneliness. But what's the alternative? A life spent pretending, a life surrounded by people who don't truly see you, a life where you silence yourself just to keep the peace, that's not belonging. That's imprisonment. So walk your path. Trust that the loneliness you feel now is making space for something greater. Trust that by staying true to yourself, you're sending out a signal to the people who are meant to walk beside you. And when they find you, and they will find you, you'll know the wait was worth it. Because true belonging isn't about fitting in. It's about finding the people who remind you that you were never meant to fit in at all. You were meant to belong. Walking alone is not easy. It's uncomfortable, it's uncertain, and sometimes it's exhausting. But it's also where you find your power. It's where you meet the strongest, bravest, truest version of yourself. So if you ever find yourself walking a road no one else understands, good. That means you're on the path meant for you. Keep walking, keep believing, and trust that in the end, every step alone will lead you exactly where you're meant to be. Thank you.